Flag, and today we got another fantastic show for you as the season is winding to a close. But first, as always, we're going to talk Pizza Ranch business here with Larry Naylor of the Oskaloosa Pizza Ranch. Larry, how's it going today?
Good.
I'm doing great, and I can see that you are doing pretty well as well. First, before we talk about the food and what you got going on here, what do you have in your hands there?
Well, I've got our plaque that we got from Pizza Ranch. We took second place in our division for actual growth in volume in 2016. So more and more people eating with us, and the more people that eat, the more people get wise and come.
Yeah, and that's what you talk about. We were just talking about it. You guys pride yourself on making great food. Well, right now is a prime time to come get some food from the Pizza Ranch because there's a all-you-can-eat buffet when you come in here. Take us through some of the pricing and the hours of the buffet.
Hours during the week are 11 to 1:30 and 5 to 7:30, but on weekends they run them all day on Saturday and Sunday this summer.
All right, awesome. And how much can one get a dinner buffet for?
Well, the buffet runs right at $10 plus tax.
This is all you can eat, folks. Like,
yeah.
and you get a chance to select your own pizza to get made. Yeah,
you can. We do offer buffet your way, so you can ask for your favorite pizza.
All right, Larry. So with that going on, pizza is not the only thing Pizza Ranch really takes pride in serving here. As a part of that buffet, you got a great salad bar and a ton of other food there. What do you like up there?
Well, just about anybody will tell you we got the best chicken around. And so, yeah, I just soon eat pizza, but the doctor says eat chicken.
All right. Well, that's one thing that we'll keep in mind. Larry, it's been awesome having this show here this year. Is there anything that you want to say about what we have coming up here at the Pizza Ranch as we head into the fall? Is there anything that you want to highlight and try to get people to come here and try?
Well, no, I'd like to see a few more people come out and eat before the show. And otherwise, whatever. I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks. I'm hunting big fish in Minnesota, up north.
No question as to what's on his mind here, Larry. Hey, you enjoy some of those fish. Have some fun catching some fish up there, and we'll catch up with you again in a little while.
Okay.
All right. That is Larry Naylor from the Oskaloosa Pizza Ranch. We have a full show for you. We're going to talk a lot sprint cars today, but we also have a recap of what happened last week at the Southern Iowa Speedway on Wednesday night. We'll take a break and come back with that on the Checkered Flag live from the Oskaloosa Pizza Ranch here on the No Coast Network.
We love the quality, we love the construction. We're looking forward to working with Morton in the future.
They have this down to a science. They know exactly what you want. They know how to make it happen. It's an easy process.
I would definitely recommend Morton. From the first time I met the salesman to the last nail that the crew put in, it has been a positive and professional experience.
I'm so happy I found Morton because they just make the job so easy.
Find the building of your dreams at mortonbuildings.com.
Hi, I'm fake Sarah McLaughlin. When was the last time you really gave your car some love? Has your car been the victim of neglect over the winter? Does it have old French fries in places that no one should ever have old French fries? Then wait no further. Pick up the phone and give Jeff at Vanderlinden Detailing a call right now. Give your vehicle the love it deserves, a full inside and outside detail. Make a difference today. Call Jeff at 641-780-0119 or follow Vanderlinden Detailing on Facebook.
Sigourney Body Shop is the intelligent choice. It doesn't take a genius to figure out that great service and reasonable prices are the reason Sigourney Body Shop is the #1 body shop in the Sigourney area. They do auto and truck collision repairs, glass replacement, body and paint work, free at-home estimates, are complete service specialists, and they offer pickup and delivery and a loaner car. Sigourney Body Shop at 210 Clark Street in Sigourney, or call 641-622-2022.
Race fans, the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum is proud to announce our Salute to Champions Sammy Swindell exhibit in our museum this season from June 1st through October 1st. Stop in and view 6 of the sprint cars that Sammy has driven during his illustrious sprint car career, and our exclusive Salute to Champions Sammy Swindell t-shirts and posters to match Sammy's race cars on display will be available inside our museum store. That's the Salute to Champions Sammy Swindell exhibit beginning June 1st and running through October 1st, only at the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum in Knoxville.
Celebrating 35 years in business, Rick and his crew at RJ Performance have kicked off a year-long sales event with a huge inventory of Polaris, Ranger, and ATV, Indian and Victory motorcycles, and the Hot Rod Autocycle Slingshot. We also carry the famous Yamaha line of ATV and off-road motorcycles, including the new retro street bikes. Tired of watching your friends have all the fun? RJ Performance also has a huge inventory of quality pre-owned UTV, ATV, and street bikes. Stop in today and get in on the fun, or visit us online at rjperformance.com.
This is Mike Serig with Vital Ministries, and we are looking forward to this new race season right here in Oskaloosa. We have many options for you race fans to get plugged in on a weekly basis throughout the season. We have a radio broadcast every Sunday morning at 8:30 on KBOE 104.9 FM, and we also send out daily inspirations for both men and women on our vitalministries.org webpage 6 days a week. So don't just sit there and let the summer speed by. Come join us throughout the race season.
Welcome back to the Oskaloosa Pizza Ranch and the Checkered Flag Show. Season winding to a close here in the middle of August, but we have plenty of action left to talk about, and we're going to start with what happened last Wednesday night here in Oskaloosa at the Southern Iowa Speedway as another fun night of racing took place. Let's see exactly how it went down.
Wednesday night at Southern Iowa Speedway was Juvenile Diabetes Awareness Night, sponsored by Middle Coop Seed Corn of Packwood, Iowa. The youngsters got to have some fun at intermission with the nickel and toy scramble thanks to Middle Coop and State Bank of Bussey. 5 lucky youngsters would also get the opportunity to present the trophy to feature winners and take one home for themselves. To learn more about the type 1 diabetes, check out jdrf.org. The night saw returning visitors to Victory Lane, with Caden Carter winning in the modifieds, Nathan Wood in the stock cars, Curtis Vanderwall in the sport mods, Shannon Anderson in the hobby stocks, and Trent Orwig in the sport compacts. As usual, the first feature of the night was the 10-lap Kelly-style State Farm Insurance IMCA Sport Compacts feature. Levi Heath and John Gill led the field to the green, but it was Trent Orwig starting outside row 2, jumping out to the race lead. Orwig, after getting hit by Heath and Gill, he pulled away and never looked back, going in to take his second win of the season in Oski. Heath held on for second. Meanwhile, Brad Havel passed John Gill for third. Gill held off Ryan Havel for fourth as Havel settled for fifth. Up next was the 14-lap Musco Lighting IMCA Modified feature. Caden Carter took advantage of his front row starting spot as he grabbed the lead and pulled away and cruised to take his 5th win of the season at Oski. It would also mean Carter has clinched the 2017 track title in the Modifieds. Brandon Banks ran second the entire feature. Dakota Simmons finished in the number 3 spot with Gordon Head 4th. In the Budweiser IMCA Stock Cars 16-lap feature, there were 3 different leaders in the first 3 laps. Danny Thrasher started on the pole and led lap 1, but he was in a battle with Dustin Griffiths, Derek Agee, Nathan Wood, Mike Hughes, and Todd Reitzler. Agee took the lead on lap 2, but it was Nathan Wood taking the lead on lap 3. Once Wood was able to get to the top spot, he began to pull away. Meanwhile, the battle behind continued. At the end of the feature, Wood crossed the start and finish line to take his 4th feature win at Oski. Dustin Griffiths finished 2nd, Mike Hughes 3rd, Todd Reitzler was 4th, and Danny Thrasher was 5th. Ethan Broxma started on the outside front row of the 15-lap Oskaloosa True Value IMCA Sport Mods feature event. Broxma took full advantage of that by grabbing the lead on lap 1. Broxma's lead was short as Curtis Vanderwall working his way from the 5th place starting spot to take the lead away on lap 2. Shortly after lap 2 scored in the books, the caution came out for debris in turn 3. Vanderwall got a great restart and pulled away and went on to take his 10th win of the season at Oski and 7th in a row. Broxma held on to take second. Meanwhile, Corey Van Zanti, Austin Paul, and Jason McDaniel rounded out the top 5. The final feature of the night was the 15-lap KBOE Radio Mahaska IMCA Hobby Stock feature. Jared Stevens wrestled the lead away from Christian Huffman on lap 1. Stevens tried to pull away until a pair of cautions came out on lap 2 for debris on the racing surface. Stevens got a great restart, but he knew he needed to as Shannon Anderson was making his way through the field. Anderson took the top spot away from Stevens on lap 7 and pulled away. Anderson remains perfect as he took his 12th feature win of the season at the Southern Iowa Speedway. Stevens finished 2nd, Jamie Songer was 3rd, Aaron Martin was 4th, and Thomas Stevens was 5th. The next Wednesday night racing will be on the 23rd of August, and it will be the season championship night presented by KBOE Radio and Mahaska for the IMCA Modifieds, IMCA Stock Cards, IMCA Sport Mods, IMCA Hobby Stocks, and IMCA Sport Compacts. Hot laps will be at 7 p.m., racing at 7:30 p.m. For more info, you can check out OskiSpeedway.com and like Southern Iowa Speedway on Facebook.
a full season worth of action at the Southern Iowa Speedway. A couple of nights left for Wednesday nights. We had the Front Row Challenge there, so it's continuing to be a very busy place for racing as the season winds to a close. We have plenty to talk about what's happening in the sprint car world, especially with what's been happening recently, and of course with the Knoxville Nationals in the middle of their big couple of weeks of the year. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll talk to our first guest of the evening. It is Dakota Hendrickson. We'll be back with him after this, right here on the Checkered Flag, live from the Oskaloosa Pizza Ranch on the No Coast Network.
At Pepsi, we think it's important to celebrate stuff in life.
Like when you text that really cute guy you met at a party on Friday, and he immediately texts you back. You celebrate with an ice-cold Pepsi.
Or your friend turns on the radio, and your absolute most favorite new song just happens to be playing. That calls for a Pepsi, too.
Because when you and your roommate order a pizza, and the delivery guy throws in extra breadsticks no charge,
break out the Pepsi.
Ottumwa's only locally owned auto parts store, Danny's Auto Supply, not only offers great prices on the quality parts and supplies you need for your vehicle, they also now offer complete car care. From brakes, oil changes to a major overhaul, Danny's Auto Supply has you covered from A to Z with parts and now a full-time automotive technician on staff. Danny's Auto Supply is located at 827 East Main in Ottumwa. See them for all your auto parts and vehicle needs. That's Danny's Auto Supply, Ottumwa's only locally owned auto parts store.
Spring is here, and so is racing season. Every race car driver knows how important it is to take care of their car. At Oskaloosa's Quality Car Wash, it's more than just a name. It's what they offer. The touchless car wash has no brushes and won't leave any scratches. There are 4 options to choose from, and all will leave your car looking spotless. Quality Car Wash is located at 1101 A Avenue West in Oskaloosa. Race in to Oskaloosa's Quality Car Wash today.
Call Terry Schroeder Alignment and Towing in Sigourney for your alignment and towing needs at 622-2269 or 641-660-5515. They feature 24-hour towing. You can trust Schroeder's experience with your towing needs, DOT license and insured. All insurance companies welcomed. For alignment, Terry Schroeder uses the Hunter Alignment System to get your vehicle back on the road in no time. Terry Schroeder Alignment and Towing, 413 West Clark in Sigourney.
April at Motor and Auto Group in Knoxville means new deals on new Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram vehicles on the lot. A 2017 Dodge Journey SXT 4-wheel drive is 23% off MSRP and saves you over $5,700. A 2017 Dodge Ram 1500 Laramie Crew Cab 4x4 is 20% off MSRP and saves you over $1,000 when you purchase. Or look good in a 2017 Dodge Charger SXT all-wheel drive, saving you over $6,900 with 20% off MSRP. The dealer that's easy to deal with and hard to beat. Motor and Auto Group in Knoxville.
Hi, we are Caleb and Carissa. And Kate. And our dad is Boomer. You know the guy that owns Vanderbeek Truck Accessories. If you're in need of truck or SUV accessories, come see our dad. He offers what you need to be riding in style. He'll make your truck cool, and he'll make you smile. Call 628-9350 or stop on the east side of Pella on Oskaloosa Street. Tell Dad the kids sent you.
Welcome back here live at the Oskaloosa Pizza Ranch for another edition of the Checkered Flag Show. I'm being joined by my first guest this evening. It is Dakota Hendrickson. Dakota, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. Appreciate it for having me.
All right, so for those who don't know, you drive a 410 sprint car that obviously is the fastest sprint car we'll see at Knoxville. Before we talk about what you have going on this year, let's just kind of take me through your interest when you were a kid, kind of how you wanted to approach racing and when you finally got yourself into racing as well.
Yeah, so when I was a kid, probably about 6, 7, 8 years old, that was when I started coming back around racing. Came to Knoxville a lot, sat up in the suites, watched all the races. The 360s and 410s ran there every week. Then now they have 305s, but yeah, I just came every week with my dad. My grandfather ended up moving up from Kansas City to Knoxville, and we went every weekend together. Had a blast, and my grandfather ended up buying me a go-kart, and my dad wasn't too thrilled about that, but ever since then we just kind of started racing on a weekly basis, and it slowly moved up the ranks, and it's been quite the process since I was 8 years old.
Well, you're only, what, 21 now?
21, just turned 21.
All right, so that's only 13 years to grow into the 410s. There are a lot of people more my age, 25, 26, that are just hopping into the 305s to get themselves going. So how quickly was the transition, and was it just, I'm just going to hop into a 410, or was there a progression from the go-kart to the 410 the last 13 years?
Yeah, so there's a decent progression, but there was some big jumps in there along the way. When I turned about 11, 12 years old, we made a jump from one class of go-karts to a little bit higher of a class, and it was called the 125 class. It's still around at English Creek Speedway, just south of Knoxville. It's a great division to really get your feet wet in. They went about 70 miles an hour. That's about what we turned down the straightaways there at English Creek. It's a small bank track, but you get going pretty fast, and you learn throttle control there a little bit, and you just get your feet wet as far as sliding around in the dirt.
All right, so from there, as you moved into a 410, these are the heavyweights at Knoxville that you're racing with. So when was it that you jumped into a 410?
Yeah, so I jumped into a 410 when I was 16 years old. Just before that, as I transitioned from the 125s to the 305s, I ran 1 year when I was 15, and then I turned 16. So it was like in between that stage, I ran a 305. But I definitely ran a 410 when I was 16 years old, and that was probably one of the biggest jumps. I was actually feared I probably had an easier jump from 125 to 305, but just that the extra horsepower from a 305 to 410 is incredible. And so just learning how to work with that horsepower and keep the tires underneath you in order to move forward and obviously keep up with the competition we're running with now.
Right. So as a 410 driver, I mean, everybody wants to drive that 410. Eventually, you see a lot of drivers moving up from that 305 to the 360 class with hopes that one day to be running toward the front in the 410 class as well. So as a young guy who's been on the scene for a little bit now as a member of the 410 class and growing up around Knoxville, has that given you some advantages to just knowing the track, knowing the atmosphere, and not having to worry too much about having to adjust what you thought you would be getting into, knowing that Knoxville was the track that you grew up watching?
Yes and no to some extent. Really, the World of Outlaw guys, they're running 10 times more than I get to run. So they're a little more up to par on their motor game as far as their chassis, what they're doing, shock adjustments, track setups and that. They're a little more up to date there. Like I said, we race weekly at Knoxville, so it's I do get to see the track all the time, and so it helps. But the Duncans over there, they do a great job prepping the track, but it's a little bit different every night. Especially this year, I've noticed that some nights the bottom's been really well. Some other nights the top's been better. So it's been kind of all over the place, and every night it's a different night, and it's dirt racing. So the track does change a lot more than it would on asphalt.
Well, that's when we've seen Bill McCroskey, who we'll have on a little bit, talks about kind of the trends that we've been seeing, and we've been seeing an awful lot of good racing there, a lot of different winners every week. There was actually a week there was nothing but rookie winners, first-time winners there. So Knoxville, kind of breeds experience for people who are younger and older. So take me through this season. I know you had an accident earlier this year. Kind of take me through that and kind of how you've been able to get back in the car, and now we're in the biggest week of the year for you.
Yeah. Yeah, so about I think it was the second night out, we had a small oil leak that just sits right beneath me and between my legs, and ended up catching on fire, and it got my face. Everything else was good. My protective gear, my fire suit, my gloves, they all did its job. But the flame did come up underneath my helmet and got my eye and my eyebrow, got my eyelashes, and burned a little bit on my eyelid here. Like I said, it's part of the sport, I guess, and I'm blessed that it's healed. I have nothing. There's nothing there anymore. So it was about 18 days, and it was completely healed. So like I said, I'm super blessed, and I'm glad that I can be back here.
Well, you got the itch because you've been in the car since then. Kind of how was that mental move? I know sometimes when a guy gets in a bad accident or something bad like that were to happen, a little bit leery. It's kind of like when a football player hurts a knee or something. Right. It just takes a little bit mentally to get over that, to get back in the car. But you've been in the car. Kind of take me through the progression mentally of getting back in the car after that happening.
Yeah, so I mean, I didn't really think much of it. In racing, there's a lot of things that can happen and go wrong at any given moment. So just growing up as a race car driver and racing since I was age 8, I've just always known that there's risks involved for racing and being a race car driver. So really, I just accept it and go with it. And you know, it was a freak deal, and I figured it probably won't ever happen to me again. If it does, we'll just deal with it when it comes along. But you just got to buck up and get back in the car.
How long did it take you to get back in the car?
I think I got back in 7 days later. So
wow.
Yep.
It did not deter you whatsoever.
Didn't stop me.
Okay, so now let's talk about how this season has gone success-wise. You've been running the 410. You know, you can consider yourself somewhat of a veteran now of that division, even though you're only 21 years old. It's been kind of wild with some of the way the 410 races have broken down, but we know all the big names that run in the 410. We talk about them with Bill every week. So what, from your vantage point, how do you kind of view your success on the season and how successful you've been while racing in a very competitive division?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, I'd say the biggest part that I always look for is consistency. So we always want to be consistent. We want to constantly be, you know, aim for top 10. That's been one of our goals for, you know, the second half of this season so far, is just try to go for top 10 every night. You know, really there's a dozen different cars that can win any given night. And they're all professionals, been doing it longer than I've been alive. So it's just a blessing to be up there competing with them. But yeah, it's competitive, and again, I'm glad where I'm at, and I just got to keep plugging away and you know, keep grinding. As soon as you can get a string of top 10s, we had a string of 4 for quite some time. We almost had a top 5 there at one point. So it's just keep grinding away, and good things will come.
Is it a matter of just learning about the track? Are you trying to take some pointers from the other guys that are on the track that, like you said, have been doing it for 25, 30 years at Knoxville? How do you try to improve with the setup in the car, and how do you try to improve with yourself driving the car on the track?
Yeah, so every driver is going to be a little bit different. So you can kind of take some pointers from, you know, the big guys. They'll give you some help here and there, but what works for them doesn't always work for me. So like I said, every driver is a little bit different. You kind of got to figure out what works for you and your team. So a lot of it's based off what's going on in the shop. Jay and John, you know, they're my 2 crew guys. Jay's crew chief and John's the car chief. So John does a lot of the tires and stuff like that. Jay's really motor. And he kind of has the last call as far as chassis setup. So really just working with them, working on the shock packages and everything that we do. It's just kind of, it's us. We try to tune other stuff that's going around out, so we can just focus on our game and improve ourselves. So that's kind of where it's at for us. Again, it's a process. I know I'm 21, but it takes quite some time just to get it all around and, you know, together in one package for the win. So.
And you talk about the track being different each and every night, and trying to string together a successful run, like you said, having, you know, 4 top 10s and almost a top 5, just having that level of consistency, even though the track is changing so frequently. So for you, how do you like the car to handle? I know you would prefer it to handle a certain way every time for that level of consistency, even if the track doesn't necessarily agree with that. And how do you kind of communicate with your crew guys to try to make that happen for you on any given night at Knoxville?
Well, you know, obviously when I come in, I try to give the best feedback I can give them. So really, it's just a matter of, you know, telling them where I'm feeling the car's, you know, leaning towards. So you know, obviously if the car's more on the left rear versus on the right rear, and then, you know, I can tell them as far as if I'm better off on entry, the apex of the corner, or off exit. Then obviously you have to worry about the top, bottom, middle. So that's always included as well. But really, just where you feel like you're gaining speed, where you're losing speed. I always try to. First thing I do is, you know, where I'm getting hurt the most. So if I'm, you know, coming out on the bottom of a certain corner, 2 or 4, whatever it may be, you know, I'll tell them that's where I feel like I'm losing ground. I'm too free. I could use some help there. So as far as, you know, tighten up the car and making it come off a little harder, that's something that'd be a perfect example that we would look into. But I always try to, like I said, I always try to tell them what is hurting and what's hurting us, and then we can obviously improve where we're good at.
So with the way Knoxville especially is kind of formatted, you get to go out there and run some hot laps. You also get a chance to kind of do some qualifying before you get out there for your feature races. For yourself, kind of how does a normal Saturday night go in Knoxville?
Yeah, so normal Saturday night at Knoxville starts about 3 o'clock is when you're signing in the pit gate. You know, the guys do a phenomenal job of making sure the car's ready to go during the week. So, you know, they obviously get the car to their track and everything. But it starts signing in. Once you guys get in the pits, you know, we obviously take the car out, do some last, you know, adjustments, we obviously make sure everything's tight on the car. You don't want anything to break and bust and whatnot. So that's kind of how it goes. There's driver's meeting, and then once the driver's meeting's done, that's really saddle up and giddy up and go time. So you know, just go in there and get your suit, get your game face on, and then you're going to saddle up for engine heat. And then shortly after engine heat, the night really takes off, and that's, you know, where you go into hot laps and then qualifying. So that's basically real rundown of the night, and it just goes from there, and it really goes by pretty quick.
How quickly do you have to make those adjustments when you're trying to make something happen for the feature that you might not have liked when it was going on either in hot laps or during your heat?
Yeah, it completely depends on, you know, the night and how your night's going. Some nights it's just a little adjustment that you need to make between heat race and maybe the feature, or even qualifying to heat race. Sometimes it's little, sometimes it's a big adjustment. It goes from, you know, just a quarter turn in one corner of the car versus you know, maybe a different shock change to even a motor change. So it really just depends on how the night's going. You know, we try to keep it as minimal as possible and try to do little adjustments, but sometimes it requires big adjustments and quite big swings at the car.
Okay, so we talk about Knoxville every week. A lot of eyeballs are on Knoxville every week, but there's not a time in racing in the state of Iowa or in the United States, maybe even the world when we're talking about dirt track racing, than the Knoxville Nationals over the 10-day period that we're kind of right in the smack dab middle of. You have your busy time coming up here in the next few days. So first question is, as a veteran of Knoxville, if you will, what is Nationals like for somebody who's grown up around it and gotten a chance to experience that, first off as a fan and now as one of the drivers?
Yeah, so the Knoxville Nationals is obviously where everyone's looking. Everyone in the world is looking at Knoxville. I know a lot of people back home in Australia, they're obviously looking, watching the races in the middle of the night and whatnot. They do that on a weekly basis too, but you know, it's a 1 week where everyone's got their eyes on Knoxville, so it's quite something. You definitely want to perform well, but really a lot of luck's involved too. You know, you got to draw well, so you have a good qualifying time, as the track tends to go away pretty quick. So it's some of it's luck, and some of it's obviously having your game ready to go. So you know, my team's done a great job with their cars all week, all year. And so I think we'll be ready to go. Our engine game's improving, and we're really come race ready. We've been moving forward no matter what. So I'm confident in Jay and John and what they can do for me. And you know, the sponsors I have back me up good enough that I think we're going to have a good shot at Nationals.
Well, you talk about that, but even more than the guys you typically see are here, you know, in South Central Iowa over at Knoxville. So being able to see the spectacle for what it was as a young lad who wasn't behind the wheel, does that give you any advantage, or was there any moments that just, you know, man, this is really cool that all these famous guys are here in Knoxville for, you know, a big competition that we're hosting here? How has that kind of affected you and your relationship with the Knoxville Nationals?
Yeah, I guess the biggest thing is I just want to beat them more, you know. So as the big guns come into town and everything, and you know the big name locals, you know, it's just lights a fire in me, and makes me want to even beat them more. So that's kind of how I see it. It's kind of how I'm always going to view it. Nothing really changes as far as me. I definitely want to win. So it's just a matter of just moving forward and being able to compete with the guys. Again, I'm blessed to be in the position I am. I just want to keep moving forward and see if we can obviously put it in the show on Saturday night.
All right, so being in the show Saturday night, a lot has to happen before that. So take us through what your kind of itinerary is for the rest of this week. It's not just a show up one night, try to run a great race, get lucky, and try to win the thing. You have to be good on several different places to be able to pull off what would be a huge win for you and even just a good finish for you. So what begins starting tomorrow?
Yeah, so starting tomorrow is really where it's showtime. So you know, Wednesday's our qualifier night. That's tomorrow. We'll see what we can do. You really have to have a flawless night. So as far as drawing, timing in well, heat race, and then through the feature, it's all based off points. So every time you're out on the track, you just gotta, you know, turn the best times, get as many spots as you can, and see where you end up at the end of the night. Then if we're top 8 in points after our night, we'll definitely be locked into the A for Saturday night's show. And if we can do that, that'd be great. I'm satisfied. You know, if we have an off night tomorrow night for whatever reason, we will requalify Friday. So basically, if you're not in the top 8 of points, we'll requalify on Friday, and we'll give it another shot and see where it takes us.
Okay, so a lot of different ways that this could pan out, a lot of different adjustments you're going to be looking to make while there's a ton of other cars out there trying to do the same thing. So pretty fun to be out there as a competitor, but I know what I was doing when I was 21 years old, and I had a hard time balancing my very simple hobbies, you know, whether it was going to the bowling alley or playing some tennis with some friends. You have a very expensive and a very time-consuming hobby, especially if you want to compete at a high level. And by the way, you're also 21 years old, so how have you been able to balance this with going to school, and kind of how did that go while you were in high school, and then when it came time to kind of decide where you wanted to go to school, what you wanted to study, and how that's factored into what you're doing now? Yeah, that's a good question. I'm always busy, and I like to keep myself busy, so I'd like to obviously start there. But I go to Creighton University in Omaha. I'm a finance major there, so I'm really interested in the stock market and everything around that. Big investment guy, so I always invest my money. Racing's probably not the greatest investment, but I love to do it. Yeah, I want to be a race car driver, and that's really my #1 goal. I don't really consider it a hobby. I really consider it as one of my main jobs. So, you know, I take pride in racing in school, and I try to, you know, do the best I can to balance both. And then I also work at a small company in Omaha, and they're actually on the side of my race car, Gazella Wi-Fi Marketing. I help run the sales team there. So it's a small startup company. I have a big role there, so I have a lot of weight on my shoulders in that job, but I love to do it, and I like to keep myself busy, so it's just a matter of staying on top of everything I do, and then, you know, obviously bringing in money to go racing. So that's really what I want to do going forward. But again, it does take a lot of time, and you really can't consider it a hobby. It just has to be one of your main jobs. Well, that makes sense, especially if you want to be successful, but you hopped into a 410 when you were 16 years old, so you had to be preparing for this. You know, this is what I want my life to be when I get out of high school. So how was high school? How was the planning process? I know, you know, your parents, family members, your friends, I mean, you're probably being pulled in several different directions because this is your formidable years here that, you know, you're trying to figure out who you want to be. This is an opportunity for you as a high schooler to try to balance that. So how did that go when you first started making these moves to want to race every week in Knoxville? Yeah, so, you know, in high school, I basically, you know, kind of had it in my mind that I was going to go to college, go to Creighton. Really, I had that decided basically at the beginning of my junior year. So as far as the high school period went, it was just kind of cruising through that. I played high school football and basketball, so obviously that kept me busy, kept me in good shape for the race car and everything, obviously through the winter and fall and whatnot. So come summertime, I'd be ready to hop in the race car and would be good and fit, ready to go. But, you know, just, you know, once I graduated high school, going into college, I was ready to go. You know, I was good with the school thing. I kind of had what I wanted to do on the weekends, so I just allowed myself to have enough time. You know, at Creighton, I have a really nice schedule where I don't have class on Fridays, so it's really busy Monday to Thursday, and then obviously not having class on Fridays helps me be able to escape for the weekends to go race and do what I really love to do. So it must be asked then, if you are able to balance it like this, I'm sure even after school's over here in the next couple of years, you're going to be looking for something else as a project, or maybe you'll race some more. What do you have in the plans as of right now, what you'd like to see yourself doing by the time you're 25? Yeah, that's an awesome question. I'm glad you asked that, because we were talking about that today. As a team, as my race team was together at the shop, we're talking about going forward and hopefully maybe doing some more World of Outlaw races. I know as I graduate, I'd definitely like to hit the full World of Outlaw Tour and do the whole thing. But obviously that requires a lot of sponsorship, a lot of partners, and a decent amount of funding to do it the right way. And I wouldn't want to do it any way but the right way. And my team's on my side. They got my back. I got their back. So we just got to work on funding, and we'll find the right partners, and I got good ones right now, so we'll just keep growing, and hopefully we can do you know, the right thing going forward, and we'll see what happens come 2018. Well, you might end up hitting it big in the stock market as well. You never know about that. Exactly, too. Yeah. So, but for now, let's talk about who is sponsoring the car, who's helping you financially, because we talked about it. This is not a cheap thing to do, especially when you're talking about 410 racing at Knoxville. So who's helped you with sponsorships on this car, and who are some of the people you'd like to thank? Yeah, so there's a lot of people out there, but first and foremost, I definitely like to thank my parents, my mom Deb, and my dad Tony. You know, they both do an awesome job. They always support me, both on and off the track, mostly off the track. But you know, they're always there for me, and I can't thank them enough. Then, you know, going into my sponsors, you know, Jeff Lampkin, he's helped us along the way some at Rescue Me Today.
It's a great foundation, targets those who are victims of sex trafficking. And so they've come on board over the past year and a half or so. And we've had them, we've been more than happy to partner with them. Gazella Wi-Fi back home, the company I'm involved with, they've helped out a little bit. Recommended Jeff Lampkin's Body Shop, he's helped out. And then obviously a big shout out to Bill McCroskey and the whole McCroskey Mafia, as I like to say. They're always good support, good moral support, and they always help us around. So it's just nice having good family members involved. Really, the racing industry is a huge family, and I'm sure I missed a lot of people, but you know, there's so many out there that I really can't thank enough. And again, John and Jay and my two crew guys, they do so much for me. So I'm really appreciated, really blessed to have all them around me, and I couldn't be more happy.
All right, so how can people find Dakota Hendrickson on social media? How can they find you at the racetrack? If people are interested in what you're doing from this step forward, how can people find you?
So I'm on Twitter all the time, Facebook. You just got to Google my name. If you Google that, it'll come up. But again, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, I'm always out there. I'm in Omaha during the weeks, and a lot of times, obviously, traveling, going racing on the weekends. I'm pretty easy to find, and anybody wants to come up and talk to me, you're more than welcome to. I'm very open to, obviously, fans, guests, and people that just want to meet me.
A man with a very bright future, Dakota Hendrickson. Thanks so much for joining us here on the Checkered Flag.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
And we'll catch back up with you and see how things are going.
Yeah,
all right.
I love that. Awesome.
That is Dakota Hendrickson, 410 driver, and he's getting ready for his Knoxville Nationals here the rest of the week. We'll talk Knoxville Nationals and more sprint car action when we return. Bill McCroskey will be sitting next to me when we come back here live from the Oskaloosa Pizza Ranch. It's the Checkered Flag Show on the No Coast Network.
We love the quality, we love the construction. We're looking forward to working with Morton in the future.
They have this down to a science. They know exactly what you want. They know how to make it happen. It's an easy process.
I would definitely recommend Morton. From the first time I met the salesman to the last nail that the crew put in, it has been a positive and professional experience.
I'm so happy I found Morton because they just make the job so easy.
Find the building of your dreams at mortonbuildings.com.
Hi, I'm fake Sarah McLaughlin. When was the last time you really gave your car some love? Has your car been the victim of neglect over the winter? Does it have old French fries in places that no one should ever have old French fries? Then wait no further. Pick up the phone and give Jeff at Vanderlinden Detailing a call right now. Give your vehicle the love it deserves, a full inside and outside detail. Make a difference today. Call Jeff at 641-780-0119 or follow Vanderlinden Detailing on Facebook.
Sigourney Body Shop is the intelligent choice. It doesn't take a genius to figure out that great service and reasonable prices are the reason Sigourney Body Shop is the #1 body shop in the Sigourney area. They do auto and truck collision repairs, glass replacement, body and paint work, free at-home estimates, are complete service specialists, and they offer pickup and delivery and a loaner car. Sigourney Body Shop at 210 Clark Street in Sigourney, or call 641-622-2022.
Race fans, the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum is proud to announce our Salute to Champions Sammy Swindell exhibit in our museum this season from June 1st through October 1st. Stop in and view 6 of the sprint cars that Sammy has driven during his illustrious sprint car career, and our exclusive Salute to Champions Sammy Swindell t-shirts and posters to match Sammy's race cars on display will be available inside our museum store. That's the Salute to Champions Sammy Swindell exhibit beginning June 1st and running through October 1st, only at the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum in Knoxville.
Celebrating 35 years in business, Rick and his crew at RJ Performance have kicked off a year-long sales event with a huge inventory of Polaris, Ranger, and ATV, Indian and Victory motorcycles, and the Hot Rod Autocycle Slingshot. We also carry the famous Yamaha line of ATV and off-road motorcycles, including the new retro street bikes. Tired of watching your friends have all the fun? RJ Performance also has a huge inventory of quality pre-owned UTV, ATV, and street bikes. Stop in today and get in on the fun, or visit us online at rjperformance.com.
This is Mike Serig with Vital Ministries, and we are looking forward to this new race season right here in Oskaloosa. We have many options for you race fans to get plugged in on a weekly basis throughout the season. We have a radio broadcast every Sunday morning at 8:30 on KBOE 104.9 FM, and we also send out daily inspirations for both men and women on our vitalministries.org webpage 6 days a week. So don't just sit there and let the summer speed by. Come join us throughout the race season.
Welcome back. We are live from the Oskaloosa Pizza Ranch, another edition of the Checkered Flag. And once again, it wouldn't be, kind of a roundup of our season without Bill McCroskey sitting here. Bill, thanks so much once again for joining us.
How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Good. I am doing even better knowing that Oskaloosa, even though we're not racing tomorrow night at Southern Iowa Speedway, last night saw maybe the race of the year that they're going to see, and it was sprint cars. And you saw it, and it was a big crowd, big money race. Take me through the front row challenge on Monday night.
Well, first of all, I mean, there's not a lot of sprint car races in the world that pay $20,000 to win. And you had a $20,000 to win race sitting out here, and it wasn't a $1,000 entry fee or anything. There's no entry fee. The guys buy a pit pass and they race for $20,000 to win. So Shane Stewart took the $20,000. And as I posted on social media, he kind of picked his boss's back pocket because Kyle Larson, the NASCAR driver, owns Shane's car. And at one time, Kyle Larson came all the way from 13th starting position to lead that race with about 2 laps to go. And Kyle got in behind a lap car. He had to check up for whatever reason, and that's that classic case. Sometimes being in second place is not all bad. And I'm sure Shane Stewart saw that the lap car was more in his frontal vision than out of Kyle's peripheral vision, and immediately dove to where that guy was. And by the time Kyle recovered, both Shane Stewart and Brad Sweet, who drives one of Casey Kane's cars, so you had a lot of NASCAR DNA floating around at Oskaloosa last night between a guy that's in the chase and Kyle Larson. Casey Kane, who's in the chase, owned 2 of the cars that were in the top 4 or 5 finishing last night were at Oskaloosa racing. So it's a real I guess you would say a real bonus to put Oskaloosa and Southern Iowa Speedway on the map, because this will get a lot of somewhat international attention, but nationally it'll go from one end of the country to the other.
Well, especially considering the fact that 30 minutes away, in the middle of all this sprint car action that is going on in Knoxville, Oskaloosa has maybe the race of the year in terms of sprint cars, with the flavor that we're talking about, with the big names, with the NASCAR ownership. So with that being said, seeing that race happen in the middle of this week, do you have time to take a breath? And I know you've been watching a lot of sprint cars the last week or so, and you still have the big guns, the 410s, still to come this week. But right. What has that been for you so far? I know that we've talked a lot about just regular season racing at Knoxville Raceway, but the last 5-6 days for sprint car fans around these parts, it's been pretty wild. Yeah, we're actually on the downhill side. We've got 5 nights out of the way and 4 to go. We got Wednesday, Thursday qualifying. Friday night's a whole new show, other than like Dakota said, for the top 16 in points. And the race last night, was a great race. Wednesday and Thursday night will be great races. Friday night will be great races, and Saturday night at Knoxville speaks for itself. I mean, $150,000 to win. That's just impossible.
Well, it's not impossible, but
well, I mean, it's impossible for anybody outside of Knoxville, probably.
Well, I did the math here the other day. It figures out to about $700,000 an hour. So that's pretty good jingle for driving a sprint car if you win it. And right. $70,000 this year for second pays more than any other race does to win. So you can run second at Knoxville and make considerably more than you do win another. The majority of the big races, I think there's 2 or 3 races that pay $50,000 to win, and then you got 30s and 20s, 20 like at Oskaloosa last night. But $70,000 for second, I believe it's $40,000 for third. So
it's big money.
The big money. You're talking $1 million from Wednesday night to Saturday night that's going to get spread amongst roughly 100 teams. So you divide that out, it's an average of $10,000 a team.
That's pretty wild considering the money factor, but guys want to win this to win it. They want to win it. They want to say they won the Knoxville Nationals.
Right.
Who are some of the big names that we need to pay attention to coming into the 410 weekend?
Wow. Well, obviously Donnie Schatz has got to be the odds-on favorite. Brian Brown won the Capitani Classic last Sunday night at Knoxville, and there was 68 or 69 cars entered just for that one night, and they were now Schatz wasn't there, but Brian flexed his muscles. Brian's ran second twice, I believe, to Schatz. So Brian, as a local car, would definitely be considered a favorite. Obviously, Kyle Larson could be definitely a favorite. You've got both the Casey King cars with Brad Sweet and Darren Pittman in them. You got, I assume Tony Stewart's car will be here with his driver in it, Christopher Bell, and just last year Jason Johnson kind of came out of nowhere, not necessarily nowhere, but if Vegas, which they don't, but if Vegas did a betting line, Jason Johnson would have been probably about 25-1 as a potential winner. So not a total upset, but certainly somewhat unexpected. So again, the names I've mentioned could easily win it. Just some of your local guys. Local, Kerry Madsen's looked really strong. His brother Ian Madsen is going to win the Knoxville Points Championship. There's a lot of possibilities out there. I wouldn't want to pick 10 cars, other than the fact that Schatz, I don't know. When Knoxville shows up, the guy just has the place all the way figured out. He's got great equipment. Him and Ricky Warner have been together for I don't know how long, 15, 18 years, and they don't have to talk to each other. I'm sure they can just look at each other, and kind of like when Carl Kinzer and Steve Kinzer were together, it's just, they just know. So there you go on Saturday night. I probably missed the winner now after I've named all those names.
And that's what the beauty is of racing. You talk about the big racing events, whether it's the Indianapolis 500, the Daytona 500, anything on a dirt track. You just never know what's going to happen, because you need some level of luck as well. And we're talking multiple nights you need luck if you're winning the Knoxville Nationals. And it just tells you how skilled a lot of these guys are. They're able to kind of neutralize Lady Luck and be able to win it just and be in the mix regularly. So with that being said, for those who haven't made it to Knoxville this season or any other year, explain to them what they can expect when they show up and see the festival that is this Knoxville Nationals for the 410s the next 4 nights.
Well, first thing I would say is it's affordable. Secondly, there's tickets available for Saturday night. I've had people thinking that there wouldn't be any seats for the Capitani Classic. Knoxville seats roughly 27,000 people, and there are seats. So if somebody's out there thinking about coming down, well, I don't know if I can get a ticket. I don't know how much tickets are for Saturday night, probably $40, $50, $60. But I mean, when you compare that to NASCAR and some of the other major events around, I mean, yeah, you might pay $10 to park or something, but hot dogs are still $3, drinks are $2 or whatever. It's not, those
are high school baseball game prices.
Yeah. A man and a wife, a couple can come here, and you won't spend $200 on Saturday night, and that's tickets, drinks, parking, everything. And to see that type of a race for well under $200 is a bargain.
And these are not guys going to be holding up for anything. If there was ever a race to try to wreck your car to win it, this is that race. What kind of racing do people see at the Knoxville Nationals versus a normal Saturday night?
Well, the biggest thing at the Nationals is the A main will be 50 laps long, and they do have a fuel stop and a tire stop at some point. They don't announce when it is. They go yellow and then they go red. Normally, a Saturday night race is 20, sometimes 25 laps. So it'll be a little bit longer, but that gives people a chance to work their way from the back and make some adjustments on their car. This is the Saturday night A main. So that would be the one big difference that you see. would be a longer race. But there's a reason they call it sprint car racing. It's a sprint. It's like a 100-yard dash in track. You know, there's no time to really wait. NASCAR, their strategy, the Indy 500, their strategy, fuel mileage, manage your tires, do this, do that. Sprint car racing, it's put it at the floor, get to the front as quick as you can, and stay there. So if the Knoxville A main Saturday night goes green to checker, well, other than that period of time that you have that fuel stop and tire stop, it'd be about 20 minutes long.
Yeah, it tells you how quickly 50 laps can go, even at a place like Knoxville. So now that we've talked about what's coming up, take me through what's happened already at Knoxville this, the previous 5 days. So they've obviously still been racing there. There's still been nationals action, still a ton of people over there at Knoxville, even though the 410s are just getting ready to go. Other divisions have been, waging their nationals. Take me through what's already happened over there.
Well, Saturday night they had the 360 Nationals, and quite frankly, what I would call the local boys showed really, really good. The winner was Clint Garner, who's raced Knoxville for 15 years, I'm going to say, multiple-time 360 champion, and he won the Knoxville 360 National Championship last Saturday night. I think it paid $15,000 to win. He was followed closely by Brian Brown, who is a 410 competitor, but does throw his 360 in from time to time. So again, I consider him a local car. Followed by Wayne Johnson, who is basically over the years been a Knoxville competitor. Then you had Aaron Runsell, he's out of Texas. He would have been the interloper. And then young Jamie Ball from Knoxville proper. Another young kid like Dakota Hendrickson, he ran 5th. So the Knoxville regulars, basically what I would call Knoxville regulars, not necessarily regulars to the 360 class, but well-known Knoxville people that are there, over the years every Saturday night, had 4 of the top 5 places, and that's pretty impressive. Sunday night, last Sunday night, you had the Capitani Classic for 410 sprint cars. We touched on that briefly. 68, 69 cars entered, and Brian Brown, I think Brian started in like the 3rd or 4th row. I mean, drove to the front and just showed what I considered his nationals muscle, because other than Donnie Schatz and a couple of other competitors, Jason Johnson, who won last year, they weren't there, but let me tell you, it was a stout, stellar field, and to drive to the front of that field and win that race, I think shows you the strength of Brian Brown's 410 program.
All right, so with that already happening at Knoxville and the Knoxville regular season racing kind of taking a back burner, we haven't gotten a chance to talk too much about stock car racing, and I just want to, as a racer, I just want to get your thoughts. Southern Iowa Speedway's had some unbelievable runs this year, and most notably Curtis Vanderwall in the sport mods, and he's, I believe, won 7 in a row. He's won 10 this season. I think there's been 13 races at Oskaloosa, and Shannon Anderson hasn't lost. Every single week he has won in the hobby stock division. For somebody who is new to following local racing this closely, how frequently does this kind of stuff happen in any division?
Probably not very often. The night I announced for KBOE for the 4th of July weekend there, your regular announcer was gone, and I had to relearn a lot of the guys, and Curtis Vanderwall won that night.
Yeah.
And it's pretty unusual. They've got, like Dakota Hendrickson said, they've apparently got a good team, they've got a good program, they've got good sponsors, and you know what? You better enjoy it while you can, because next year they may continue on, but I've seen the thing just turn 180 degrees. Crazy things start breaking. 18-cent cotter key or something breaks, and it just goes downhill from there. So I congratulate both Anderson and Vanderwall for their season they're having, but I hope they enjoy it, because it could sure turn around. Not saying it will, but it could.
Yeah, Caden Carter also has locked up the track championship in the modified, so he's been very successful this year. That's been more of a, sure, he's won some races, but he's also just consistently finished high.
Yeah.
But just the level of domination we see from some of those guys, how, for a guy who's been in a race car before, how much of that is just keeping yourself out of trouble? Because, you know, we talk about it a lot. Lady luck has to be on your side if you want to win a ton of races, and there's only the track championships at the end of August at Southern Iowa Speedway, and then we have the Frostbusters in October. That's the last racing that will be at Southern Iowa Speedway in 2017. So really just one more night of points that can be possibly gathered, and Anderson's going for the perfect season. Yeah. What has to go right, not only with the car, but just how improbable is it to not get into trouble? Because those hobby stock fields, it's not like 3 cars are racing Shannon Anderson every week.
Right.
He has to go through another, 16 cars to get to the front every single week.
Well, flat tires, I mean, it's just phenomenal to win every night like that. So I'm sure that night he's going for the perfect season. He'll hear all sorts of rattles and noises in his motor that he normally doesn't hear. And again, you just run over a piece of shrapnel on the track, something gives up, but that would be probably, I don't know of, it's probably, it probably wouldn't happen 1 in 100 divisions to have a weekly show and race that much and to win every night, because just something crazy could happen. Your car doesn't start. Throw a fan belt. A multitude of things that could happen. So, like you said, he'll be going for a perfect season. He's apparently a very smart racer. Kyle Larson last night, I watched him follow 2 cars, not lap cars. He was trying to, one was on the bottom, one was on the top. There was nowhere for Larson to go. And he spent probably 7 laps patiently stalking those guys, waiting for his opportunity. And I suspicion that's the way Anderson races. He just bides his time, because if you stick your nose in there, you can, sure get it bloodied if you're in too big a hurry. So it's a lot of it's patience, experience. Skill, obviously, is all part of it. Well, he's also won national championships in that division, right. So he knows what he's doing. He knows what's going on. So that will wrap up my conversation on that. Congratulations to all of the track champions at Oskaloosa, Southern Iowa Speedway in the IMCA divisions. But what the heck is a McCroskey Mafia? I'm not sure. They've got me down as the Team 7 Gully and everything else. So, and McCroskey's not exactly an Italian name, so I'm not sure what the McCroskey Mafia is. I'm sure that Dakota can come closer to telling you than I can, but I've known that kid since he was this high, and he's just a quality kid, good kid, smart kid, and he'll go somewhere in life, whether it's in a sprint car or whatever kind of a race car, and if it's not a race car, he's got his act together, and I like the kid. That's why I like helping him, because you tell him something, he doesn't make the same mistake twice, and he's, like he said, he's 21 years old. And he's not a veteran compared to the veterans in the 410 class, but by the time he's 30 years old, if he continues racing sprint cars, he'll be a force to reckon with, because that comes with experience. Bill, thanks so much all season long. It's been so fun chatting with you about Knoxville sprint cars and everything else. You've helped us so much here on the show. I cannot thank you enough for what you've been able to do for us, and I can't wait to chat with you again sometime. Well, you bet, Emery, and it's been fun coming on here and talking about sprint cars or racing in general. I even enjoy Eddyville. Anything if it goes fast and makes noise, I'm all for it. That is Bill McCroskey. He is one of our great friends of the program, and that will just about do it for us here on the Checkered Flag. Thanks for joining us all season long as we've been able to jump into Eddyville Raceway Park, talk a little bit about figure 8 racing, Southern Iowa Speedway, as well as Knoxville Raceway as they finish their nationals this week. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in, all of the drivers and all of the personnel we've been able to have on our show each and every week. Got to thank Bill McCroskey once again and Curtis Vanderwall for really helping us put this show together each and every week. Without them, this show could not have been possible. I'd like to thank all of our directors and our board operators this year as well. Specifically tonight, our director Titus Letzering and Michael Leverton back in the No Coast Network studios. This is Emery Songer signing off for the last time of the season right here on the Checkered Flag Show, live from the Oskaloosa Pizza Ranch. And you've been watching it and listening to it live right here on the No Coast Network.
This has been the Checkered Flag on your station for racing. 104.9 FM KBOE and all over the world at KBOEradio.com. The Checkered Flag has been presented by Mahaska, National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum, Sigourney Body Shop, Danny's Auto Supply, Quality Car Wash, Morton Buildings, Motor Inn Auto Group of Knoxville, Vanderlinden Detailing, Schroeder Alignment and Towing, Vital Ministries, RJ Performance, and Vanderbeek Truck Accessories. This has been the Checkered Flag on 104.9 FM KBOE and all over the world at KBOEradio.com. This has been a production of No Coast Network.